back. Let's continue from where we left off. So, we need to get back to actually doing this. Next up, we will make a second constructor, which we won't really, use anywhere just yet, but we will need it later on in all likelihood. So let's just go ahead and make it. We don't have to come back to it later on. I'm like 90% sure that at a certain point of time later it will be needed. Datetime. Not in this version of the keylogger, but once we start adding additional functionalities in addition to the ones that we have now, we're most likely going to need it. And plus, it kind of does make sense that this constructor does make sense because here the user will be actually able to set all the datetime parameters and we will be able to create our own custom time, which is nice. Okay, so let's just go ahead and pass these and M and Y and H. Pretty sure that you know what all these stand for and represent. Hours, minutes, seconds, days, months, years. So where am I? Minutes. What do I need? And S. Excellent. Now let's go ahead and do this. Let's initialize them. So D, M, 2M, H, and dust to dust. No, wait. No. It's M to M. S, and we shall be done very soon. Right. So what do we need? We need a year. Is that it? Year is in a bad place. Let's just close the body because the body will be empty. Let's just see if the stream is correct. So D for D, M for M, and then we need a year. Right. There we go. Year is there because it's so important. There we go. So this will create a datetime instance and the user will provide the date parameters. Now the same will go now for the next one. The same will apply as for this one, but this is when the time is actually set to 0. So we're set here, you'll set the date, but the time will be to 0. Okay, so some strange. Okay, and M and Y. Okay, that should be it. And D, M, and Y. Yep, date, month, year. And now we need to go ahead and do the same as above. So no difference there, except it should be a little bit shorter. D, Y, let's not make any misses. And now the hour shall be 0, because we don't care about that here. Minute shall be 0 as well, and second shall be a 0 as well. Of course, the month. I hate these things. I hate them so much. There we go. Never had a concept of time in my life. Let's go ahead and close this. Done deal. This has been formatted in a rather strange way, hasn't it? There we go. Code blocks. Gotta love code blocks. You know, it's just kind of easy for me to blame other things for my poor habits, but oh well. Anyway, the next method will be the method that we will use in order to get the current date time. So if we just type in date time now, I think this is very similar to English language, some might argue. Constant. Now this method will return basically date time constant. That is something that is passed to this. That is something that is passed to this method, and it will return. It's there in order to make the const that you can see here on the screen right here. The last thing that I have written is basically there to make it constant. It will only read. It will not change anything within the class. Something that should be kept in mind. Okay, next up we will just go ahead and call the constructor. Just in essence, it calls the first constructor, where we will set the attributes of the call to the current date time. That's literally it. Here, perhaps it is better when I write return date time. This will return the current date time. That's literally it. No busting your head against the wall or anything like that. That's all that there is to it. And down below, let's just do these. So D, M, Y. I know that I'm going to miss something. I just somehow know it. M and S. That's it. Okay, now we need to format. Now we need to go ahead and format our date in something, preferably in a format that is human readable and not the seconds from the beginning of Unix epoch till today. So let's go ahead and use std string get date string const. So this will go ahead and format the date attributes in a format that we specify. So it's up to us. And let's go ahead and type in return std string. I'll explain these in a second, but let me just go ahead and write it out because I really don't feel like missing things here. I mean, not that I don't think it's going to prevent the keylogger from working, but it's going to, well, it actually might. To string. Okay, so D. And now we're going to concatenate some strings here. Std string. We're doing nothing special here. We're just really formatting the output. That's basically it. There's a bit more to it, but I mean nothing to bust your head against the wall, I guess. Just a bit of formatting. This formatting can be done in various ways. I find this to be appealing. Let's put it like that. Okay, so need a dot, and we're gonna do plus to string m plus. Again, we're gonna need another dot, and then we're gonna do another plus to string y. There we go. So this is basically a representation of an if statement. It can be read like this: if d is lesser than 10, then we're gonna need that 0. Otherwise, give us an empty string. And then we're gonna use the toString function, and we're going to pass d to it, and we shall concatenate that with whatever comes out this end. So here it can be either a 0 or an empty string. And then we're going to concatenate that with the return from the following statement. So it will be like, if m minutes are lesser than 10, give us .0. If they are greater or equal to 10, give us a dot. And then we're going to concatenate yet another string, which will be we're going to pass m to string, and then that function will have a return value, and that will be our string, which we will concatenate with everything else here. Then we're going to add a dot to it, and finally to string y. So date, month, year. Simple as that, no big deal. The return format of this particular function will be the following. So this will be the days, this will be the minutes, the months, and this will be the years. Simple as that, no big deal. All we have done here is formatted our date, month, year into this. That's literally it, no big deal. It looks a little bit complicated when you look at it like this, but it's really just a bunch of formatting. It's probably the easiest part of this keylogger. So let's go ahead. Next, we are going to go for time. So this is for the date, and now we are going to go for the time. String get time string and we're gonna need this separator, which will be now there's a bit of a trick with this separator. It's the primary idea was to name the files based upon the date on that particular date when the recording began, or when something of a kind and something like that happened. But you cannot use a colon in the naming of files in Windows. So later on we will have to mess around with it. What we are passing to this function here is basically just it will format time to our specifications. So the parameter that we are passing is a reference to a constant string sep, which stands for separator, and the default separator is a colon. No big deal there. Default separator is colon here, so for time anyway. If you take a look at your watch, if you have a digital watch, you can see that the default separator is a colon. So now we're gonna do a bit of formatting as well. And before I do that, need to place one here as well. Anyway, again, just a little bit of formatting, and that's it. No big deal. So I don't think that I really need to offer any specific explanations in regard to this format. I'll just show you the final product here, and then you can try to visualize it in your heads how the formatting actually goes. I did explain this statement, so based upon that you will be able to infer and figure out a lot. Then again, you always have the discussion section. We are always happy to help you out in any way that we can. Now let me please write this. String. Actually, I think this is the most hated part of all of this. We're just concatenating strings and concatenating strings on end. Okay, so then question mark, need the quote marks, 0, and then this, and then this. Well, I do believe that I could even use single quotes. Maybe. No, not really. A string. There is some universe in which that would work, but we're gonna leave it at double quotes. Plus, so yet another one. This will be the last one in this long line of formatting. Joy to the world. Okay. Oh my god, there we go. So all that this is doing is basically it's going to return time in the following format. So it will be hours, minutes, seconds. This entire return statement equals to this, basically. if you want to visualize how that is happening, feel free to look at the return statement on end and try to figure it out from there. So there isn't a lot left in this header. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the function, which will combine these two functions. So it will return the combined date and time, and it will format them. So std, once again, actually there won't be any formatting. We'll just add the return values of the two functions, which will be a lot simpler. Get date, time, string, and okay, so colon here, constant, there we go, return, and now we need to just call the two functions, so get date, string, fantastic, and the return value of this function is a string, so we can concatenate it with another string, but before we do that, we're just gonna get a space here, get a space going here, and to that we shall add get time string sep. Excellent. So there will be some sort of a separator. Close it. Made a mistake here. There we go. So all of this is done and over with. It is gone, no more. Be gone, vermin. Be gone. Hateful formatting. The next up, there will be a generic function that will try to convert pretty much anything to a string, whose prototype I have explained previously. So if I just type in, actually, this is done and over with. Sorry, need to go down below. Template, class T, and now we're going to go ahead and type in std, string to string, const T, similar as before. Okay, so std. Now, this will be able to receive anything that supports the insertion operator. What that is, I will get to it in a moment. Next up, we just need to type in O string stream. So O string stream. That's all that there is to it. S. Up, that's it. Now this is a variable S of type O string stream, output string stream. We will be placing stuff in it, hence it is output string stream. And down below, we're just gonna do this, SE. Now here, remember me saying that the function will take anything, and then saying that you should take this with a statement, and then saying that you should take this with a grain of salt. Do you remember that statement that I have made? Well, here it goes. Here's why. You will only and only be able to pass a type to this function that supports an insertion operator. This is the insertion operator. You can see it right here. Lesser than sign. If by some crazy chance you have a variable e of type t that does not support insertion operator, this will not compile. So there will be a major problem here. But that's not our case. That is not our scenario. For us, this will work. This will function. We will make sure that it does. Now, the next function that I am going to write here is not, how shall I put this? It's not like a mandatory function or anything like that. Oh, right. God. I knew I forgot something. There needs to be a return value. Return s.str.